Welcome to Film 360, the Full Circle Film Show. This week, we've got a great guest on to talk about being an actress. She's an actress here in Utah. If you're in the Utah film market, I'm sure you've seen her all over the place. She's the probably most famous redhead
Hey now.
in the Utah film market. She's great, so stay tuned. I want to say a quick thank you for our sponsors, Creative Stream Studio, for letting us film in their space. It's fantastic here. And also, we have a new sponsor, Voyage Direct Primary Care. I'm going to be talking about them. They're an awesome solution for healthcare, especially for film industry professionals. So stay tuned and enjoy Film 360. Okay, so Mikayla Iverson, how long have you been acting for?
Well, I have been acting my whole life. I've been, and people always say that, but I really, really have been forever. But I did theater all growing up. And then once I graduated high school, I was like, I don't know, something clicked and I was just like, wait a second, why would I not do film? And I think just that idea spiraled, and now I am where I am. Fun fact though, in high school, out of my whole high school, I was voted most likely to win an Oscar. And I'm going to fulfill that, dang it. Because,
Awesome.
To prove myself. But anyways, I just think that that's so funny that I actually got voted that in high school. But
That's great. That's great. So what was your first foray? What was your first adventure in film?
oh man, I was actually talking to my husband about this just the other day because it's so fun to, to look back. The very first thing I did was for this tool that digs up graves. And it's just as bizarre as it sounds.
This is a real product or a
Yes,
spoof product?
no, this is real.
Wow.
Yeah, and
The Zoomer 2000.
yeah, no, so it's this big long tool, and he wanted to get a girl to do it to show like this sounds sexist, but even a girl can do it. But he's saying like anyone can do it, and it literally was to lift the headstones out of the ground, and it was a special production. It was just a guy and a camera, but I made money doing it. It was my very first experience with film, and I'll own it. That was a unique. Now I'm telling you that my first commercial or acting on film gig was with the grave digging tool.
That is marvelous. And maybe the most unusual product shoot I've ever heard of.
Oh, I've done a lot. I could tell you a lot
Okay.
of products.
All right, yeah. So my first question is, you've been doing this for what, 3 or 4 years now?
No,
At least longer?
it's been over 5 years that
Okay.
I switched to film instead of just theater.
Wow. Okay. So how would you say the industry has changed? What have you seen change as an actress in that time?
One of the biggest things is when I started out, first of all, I noticed I got my acting gigs on the website utahactors.ning.com. That's where I very first started seeing the casting calls. And then a little bit after that, I made the switch to looking on Utah Filmmakers and Actors. And at that point, it only had like 2,000 members on Facebook. So it was really a really tiny group. And now I don't even know how, there's 16,000 or something like that. And so I think that's one of the biggest changes is that, it went from being this just online website thing to this Facebook group. But now I feel like it's transitioning out of the Facebook group almost. Maybe it's just because I have a bigger network or whatnot, but it's so big now, and so it's harder to find casting calls and whatnot on there.
And where do you do most of your work? Like where could I watch? If I wanted to go watch a bunch of things you'd be in, would I find most of it on social media, on private websites? Like, that sounds shady, but where?
Definitely not that.
But you know what I mean. Just like company
Even though
websites.
most people put redheads in that category, I'm working against social
Working
change
against
here.
type. No, that's okay.
No, anyways, I'd say probably just in general, most of the acting work that you find in Utah is commercial work.
Yeah.
Just in general. And so I would say social media is probably where you'd find most of my acting work. But with that being said, you can also, some of my more recognizable things, like that people see all the time, are on television, you know, the Czech City commercials.
Yep.
There's also a Lifeline commercial that goes around
Yeah. I don't
a
think
lot.
I've seen
It's
that one.
funny because both of those, like, I filmed the Lifeline commercial like 2 years ago, almost. So it's funny how long it stays in circulation, you know?
That's funny. Okay, so now I want to get back to my earlier question, which what is your favorite shoot that you've gone on, or I guess maybe the most unusual? Because if it's not the gravestone, if it's not the Exhumer 2000, I want to know what it is.
There really has been some crazy things. That's a really hard question. My favorite is very different from the most unusual.
Yeah.
So one of my favorites, it's really hard to narrow that down, but one of my favorites, I got to play an old woman named Pearl. I gave her that name.
Yes.
And actually that commercial just recently launched on social media. And I got to play this old woman, and they did full on believable, not like character-y, believable old age.
Great.
And man, it's so great. It just barely launched about a month and a half ago, and I was told from the writer that they had more sales than any other month in that in that month that commercial was released, and we're making a few of them. And so
You're making more?
Yes, so I get to go. I can't like tell the ideas, but there's
it's a good commercial.
there's some really great stuff.
Okay, so that's a fun one, and I've seen that make the rounds on Facebook, I think. But so now, what is the weirdest one that you can think of?
Well, I don't know. It might be that grave digging one. I now that I think about it, like that really might be the one. I always think it's funny when I think about. I've done a lot of hand modeling stuff too, and so that to me is just funny in itself. You know, it's like I'm a hand model, but so yeah, it actually probably is that grave digging one. Yeah.
What is to you the hardest part about being an actress?
The hardest part, I think, is having this dream, this passion for acting, and like, you know, you fail a lot as an actor because you get rejected a lot, and it's just the way it is. If you want to be an actor and you can't handle rejection, then you shouldn't be an actor. And I think the hardest part is having this passion, this dream, and feeling like you can't do it anymore, but not having another choice because it's part of you. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Because it'd be so much easier to just be like, never mind, like I'm done. I'm just gonna go do a 9 to 5. That's it. I'm done. It's just not possible if you are truly passionate and love acting, because it's a part of who you are. So I think that's probably the hardest thing.
Okay, and so piggybacking on that, what has been one of your hardest moments?
I think whenever you are you talking about while filming, or
No, I
just
mean,
like
it could
in
have been
general?
on a set, but yeah, a moment that hit you really hard that was just either a particularly difficult rejection or something along the, you know, Paul Bettany had a moment where he was told he'd never work again, right before he got the call for Avengers, but and that was his low point. You know, have you had a low point that made you feel?
You know, there's a lot when you act. This is going to sound kind of interesting, but I got accepted into New York University for acting a few years ago. That was before I have a baby, if you know that, but the people watching might not know that. But I got accepted, and it was a lot of hard work, and it had built up, you know, my whole life. I wanted to be an actress and stuff, so this seemed like a really important decision. And I think that was probably one of my lowest points, was having to decline that offer, because the tuition cost is insane. And I felt like turning that opportunity down felt like turning acting down. It wasn't, but at the time it felt that way.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably one of the hardest things, you know, not being in New York and working towards that goal.
And so this is a question, I know a lot of actors have different ways of dealing with this, but how do you pick yourself back up again? Do you have, I mean, what has motivated you on a daily or weekly basis to keep at it even though it's hard?
Like I was talking about earlier, when I feel like when you get rejected, you do fall down for a little bit. But then that fire, like that passion for acting just kind of like, it kind of drags you up. Like there's no choice, you know, like I said, it's like, sorry, you're going to have to get right back up and go look like an idiot again and get rejected again. Sorry. Like no other option. So I think that just that drive to do what I love, not even to succeed, because I could act my whole life and not be successful in some people's eyes, but I get to do what I love. Does that make sense? So
Absolutely.
that need to do what I love, I think that motivates me and picks me back up.
Awesome. Real quick, we're just going to take a break and we're going to show a little video for Creative Stream and a little bit about Voyage Direct Primary Care. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Film 360.
Hello, I'm Dr. John Sanders. I'm a family physician, and the reason that I went into medicine was because I love helping and caring for people. I created Voyage Direct Primary Care because the cost and complexities of insurance companies have driven people away from accessing the care that they need. I am a board-certified family physician, and physicians across the nation provide upwards of 90% of health care to Americans. As such, I'm uniquely positioned to provide that care to my clients. Cutting out the middlemen, cutting out the cost and complexities of insurance, and putting care back into the healthcare model. So how does it work? For one low monthly fee, Voyage Direct Primary Care provides you with fantastic holistic family medical care. Voyage Direct Primary Care offers unprecedented access to your family doc via same-day office visits, but also we provide access via text, phone call, video chat. There are no copays or deductibles for any of these services. It's just one low monthly fee. In order to optimize your wellness, I like to spend adequate time with you. I like to listen to your problems and get to know you and build that relationship. It's not uncommon for me to spend 30 to 60 minutes with my clients. This helps me be the best doctor for you that I can be. Voyage Direct Primary Care puts old school principles back into healthcare, where your physician really gets to know you, has a relationship with you, and isn't afraid to make house calls on occasion. Voyage Direct Primary Care offers a unique healthcare experience that can save you money whether you have insurance or not. To learn more or sign up, visit voyagedpc.com. Voyage Direct Primary Care, where caring is our superpower.
Welcome back, and there's a question that I think it's important always to get this from any kind of artist. But what would you say to somebody who wants to go into acting? What would you say to somebody who wants to learn? And not just maybe general advice, but is there industry-specific stuff that you would say? Is there, what kind of advice would you give?
So my very first piece of advice is, first of all, you need to know that it's hard. Because I feel like I get a lot of people that see what I'm doing and they're like, I've been thinking of acting, and it's been this thing I've thought about. And like I've said this whole time, you really need to love it, because otherwise it's not going to be worth it for you. And there's long hours on set sometimes, and there's difficult conditions on set sometimes. So if you don't love it and love what you're doing, then it's not going to be worth it to you. So that's what I'd say first. It's hard, know that, and know that it's not just some fun, silly thing if you're really serious about acting. Some very specific advice that I can give is that a lot of people ask, like, first of all, how do I break in? How do I break into that? And my philosophy with anything in life is that you kind of just have to just jump in and do it. Because a lot of people are like, yeah, but like, when do I start, when I start charging, or when do I stop acting for free, you know? And I'm just like, just start. That's the first step it takes. You know, you just have to know your self-worth and know that like the work you're doing is worth getting paid. And you know, so that's something that I think is a big piece of advice that I'd have, is just start. When I very first started, I just pretended like I knew what I was doing, and I didn't. But you know, now I do, and so I had to do that for myself at first, so that I could get to the point I'm at now.
And I think confidence is one of the other things that I feel like you have to have, because when you take that initial step and you just start saying, hey, you're going to pay me to do my art.
Yeah.
I think you have to project a certain amount of confidence. But I was going to ask, what's your stance on free work, actually? Because I think that's a very important one that every level of artist deals with.
Yeah.
The famous, how do I pay my rent with exposure? But where do you stand on free work?
On two legs. I'm just kidding.
Nice.
I'm really not that cheesy. No, I think free work is great. I think if you want to get experience and get paid, the best route to go very first is probably do extra work if you literally have no experience, because you will get paid. You know, most of the time you get paid if it's like on a bigger production, and they'll be willing to take people that don't have experience. So I'd say do extra work and you'll get paid, because that can give you an experience and you can get paid. You know what I'm saying? Just because then you can see how a set runs and everything. But I think free work is great. I think that when you're first starting out, it's great because you can get some good stuff to actually put a reel together or show examples of work, so you can actually get that paid stuff. I think where it gets more tricky is when to start charging, when to start getting paid for your acting, and when to like say no to the free stuff.
Yes.
And I think it's harder the further you get in your career. But if you like a project, then there's no reason you can't go, you know, act for free. I act for free for projects that I truly believe in and with people that I believe in. And so it's not like unheard of for me to do that, but I also don't do it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the way to go. Now I wanted to ask you about something that I have not really had any experience with, which is representation. You are represented, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, I was 100% sure, but I just...
Yeah, you're good.
Who are you represented through?
So I'm with Focus Talent Management.
Okay.
And they're a smaller agency.
Yeah,
they're
I'm
like a boutique
with
agency.
them a little bit.
It's funny because a lot of people in Utah aren't, even though they've been around for a really long time. So it's...
I've come across them, yeah. Not as much as some of the bigger ones, but yeah, I've come across them.
So what questions do you have about it?
The main questions are, what should I look for in somebody who's going to represent me? What are red flags maybe, if you've come across any groups? Because I have. Representation groups that you shouldn't
me
go
too.
with.
Me
Yeah,
too.
no names will be
Yeah, I was going to say, I have to be
given.
careful with that.
Yeah, but there have been some definite red flags I've seen in agencies. And when should I get represented?
I think I'm going to answer that last question first. When you should get represented is as soon as you feel confident in your acting ability, because having an agent helps you show that you're a professional, like helps others show you're a professional, helps you get the better work, and I think it kind of helps you categorize yourself as a professional actor to yourself even. So that's when I'd say, when you feel
Yeah.
confident in your own acting ability. What to look for, which is
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
first question you
What-
asked. I would say look for someone that asks to see your work before they will represent you. Because I have both heard and experienced people trying to sign me without seeing my stuff. And
Interesting.
and I know they haven't seen my stuff. This doesn't happen anymore as much with me, but in the beginning,
Everybody's seen your stuff.
whatever, stop. But yeah, if they haven't seen your stuff, why are they representing you?
Interesting.
Which means that they're doing that to other people too. That means that there's hundreds, maybe
Yeah.
even thousands on their roster, and you don't want to compete with that within your own agency, right? So that's what I'd say, what to look for and kind of what to avoid.
Yeah.
Avoid agencies that demand you book with their headshot photographer, or demand that you take their classes, especially right off the bat.
So glad you mentioned that one.
That's a really bad one, and I have almost been conned into both of those, but I didn't because I am a smart cookie. So that's what I'd say to look out for. Look out for agencies that are promising you fame. They're not really in it to actually help you with your career. Something that I really like about Focus, this isn't supposed to be like this little plug or anything.
No, but I think this is really important.
Yeah, something that, because I've actually been with a few agencies in Utah, and so I've experienced, different kinds. And something that I love about Focus is they don't make you pay for the work you find yourself. So
that's great.
yeah, because I find a lot of work on my own or within my own network, and so I don't have to pay them for that. And then also they're a smaller agency, so I am the only person with my look,
That's great.
my age at my agency, so I know I'm gonna get sent out if I fit something.
That's really great. Yeah, this is actually really important. When I was in high school, I got a call that somebody wanted to audition me to be represented by them, and supposedly I'd been
Tale as old
referred-
as time.
Yeah, by one of my classmates, right, from my theater class, and so I was like, oh, this must be legit. And yeah, it was a $1,500 acting class and headshot session sort of ordeal. And as I've been in this world now for many years, I don't hear about anybody from that agency. I think they're still out there conning
Really?
high school kids, but I don't ever hear about them booking.
Yeah.
So I
Man.
think that was a really good
Well,
point to
and
bring up.
I actually, like I said, I almost got conned by this. I even they had my card number and everything.
Wow.
I was at that point. I went to the first class. Like I said, I'm not gonna name names. Some of you might know who I'm talking about, but whatever. Anyways, I went to the first class and I was like, this is total bull. It's like, I'm not paying money for this. And this kind of leads into something else that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, great.
Oh, by the way, I got my card information back from them and they did not charge me.
Nice.
I'm convincing. But anyways, this leads into something else that I think is important. A lot of newbies or beginners really feel like they have to take all these expensive classes. And I think the best thing to learn is self-tape auditioning, and B, just doing it, like I said before. I think the self-tape auditioning is really educational to yourself, because when you watch yourself, you see things that you didn't realize you did. And so it helps you correct those mannerisms that you have that you may not have realized were there. It helps you better see your actual ability.
So when you say self-tape auditioning, do you mean every audition you do, or do you mean just doing this for yourself?
Both. I mean, I don't record every audition that I go do if it's live, but there's a lot of just self-tape auditions that you send. And so those have really helped me. They continue to help me, especially when the acting season is slow, because it gets a lot slower in the winter in Utah.
Yeah.
So when I'm recording these auditions, it really helps me to have that practice time.
Yeah.
If I'm not actually on set, or if I don't actually get the part, I still have that time to hone in on my skills.
And I know there are a lot of great workshops and things that get taught in Utah and more and further out. Do you do any of those? Have you participated in workshops and things like that, or are you more of a self-contained?
I have done some. One that I did that was one of my favorites was Tom Todoroff. He came from New York, and I actually was able to produce this workshop with him.
Cool.
And yeah, I like picked him up from the airport and everything. It was
Nice.
fun. But we did it, and it was at the Rose Wagner, and he had people come up and do their monologues, and he gave them feedback. He's coached people like Liam Neeson, some really big names. And he comes to Salt Lake every once in a while. So if you have that chance, jump on that.
Cool.
But I know there's a lot of different workshops around the valley, and some of them are free, and some of them are like $5 a week just to go act together. I think those are great. It's hard when you have a family. I think that those two overlap just a little bit. So I have done some workshops, but I also went to school. I was majoring in theater for a while. I switched. I got a degree in something else, hospitality management. But still, I did take some classes as well for a few years at UVU too. So I have done the class route. I also do, self-practice and stuff.
Great.
So.
Awesome. Well, Mikayla, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
I was going to ask for if you have any parting words of wisdom or advice that you wanted to share.
Keep going. Keep living the dream, man. That's
Awesome.
it.
Thanks so much. And again, big thanks to our sponsors. I especially want to talk about Voyage Direct Primary Care just for a second. For professionals who are independent contractors, this is an awesome way to get excellent health care from an amazing MD, and he'll take great care of you for a very low, affordable monthly price. Watch the little video after, and it'll give you all the information you need. But this is a fantastic, game-changing way for independent contractors to get access to great health care. So thanks so much, and we will see you next week on Film 360.